Morning, everybody, or afternoon, I guess, depending on where you are. Morning for us out here in the West. Bit of a cloudy one here, but warm. So we're getting some warm weather in Calgary, which is really nice. Welcome back to our developer live streams. As always, my name is Caleb with our CEO, Stephen Kenway. Super pumped to be back. We missed you a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, well, it was a pretty good session with Abel. He was a more than able stand-in. Slight little pun there.
Very, very much so. We had, really good stuff from Abel. Did have some comments that it went really well, and people got a lot out of it. So big shoes to fill for you coming back now. But we trust in you. So today we're going to talk AI. I mean, in a generic sense, but some more specifics. Kind of where it's going, how OpenClaw is going to impact sports gaming, which is obviously the title of this one. But obviously you've got a few things to share. Any questions, obviously, feel free to hit them in the comments. But yeah, we'll start there, Steve. Welcome back. And how's OpenClaw going to impact sports gaming?
Yeah, so just to give everyone a little, I'm just getting my notes set up here. Give everyone a little bit of background here. I'm all over the place now. There was probably a Titanic shift the last week from a technology perspective, and anyone who's been following kind of the Claude bot Molt OpenClaw story, there's some people who probably are like, wow, this is crazy. Like, this is the closest we've been to artificial general intelligence. And other people are probably like, what are you even talking about? So the first thing that I thought we would start with is, what is an agent? So I think most people are familiar with ChatGPT now. That's a application that allows you to access an LLM. They've built a bunch of intents and kind of skills on top of it. So if you want to, do some math or do some spreadsheets, the LLM can kind of recognize that and then plug in your input and kind of return some work. So really, kind of an extension of ourselves, and pretty cool. Agents are the next layer of that, where you can kind of take work or tasks that you want to do, and you can assign it out to an agent, and the agent can go and do the work for you. So there's some examples of that are pretty common. Deep research is one of them. A lot of people have kind of seen that on ChatGPT and other Claude, et cetera, where it can go away, kind of in the background and plug away at a really hard problem or really long involved research and then return a result. The next level on top of that is not only going to be able to do kind of this research, but they'll actually be able to do stuff on your behalf. And so one of the things that's going to be interesting about the future is that you'll probably have agents that are specifically built for a purpose. Be really, really good at one thing. And then you'll have, kind of an orchestration of those agents between each other, working with each other to perform tasks. This one's really, really good at doing research on players. This one's really, really good at kind of maybe analyzing betting odds, or this one's really, really good at going out and doing some work on your behalf, like a trade or whatnot. I'll get to more of that later. So, at the end of the day, that's what an agent primarily is. And what happened in the last week is Claude bot, which was the original name, and they rebranded to Molt, and then they rebranded again to OpenClaw, which I think OpenClaw is a significantly better name than the other ones.
Would agree for sure. Yeah, the other ones don't roll off the tongue quite as nice.
No, especially Molt. And there's some drama, like all things in tech, as that transition went. So if you like the kind of Sassy Valley gossip, read up on that side of it. But here's the significant thing to it. So what OpenClaw has essentially done is it's taken that agent concept and provided you with an open source platform for we, the everyday person, can now go out and start creating agents. And what is an OpenClaw agent? Well, it's comprised of a few different things. So I'm just going to pull up my other notes so I'm not talking out of turn here. There is a soul file where you can define your agent's personality. its core philosophies, its tones, its internal behavior. So you can give your agent, it could be Caleb Jr., it could be, your best buddy, it could be something else. And then there's an agent's file, which is its operating instructions. It's its rules and its priorities. It helps it make decisions. It helps it, understand which tasks it should be completing. Then there's a bunch of other stuff like the user, like how to your preferences, etc. Identity, who is the agent. There's a heartbeat, so you can kind of set up some things. So as it's kind of sitting there in the background, the heartbeat is what tells it to go and potentially do things. So hey, go and do some research for me at. Sorry, what was that?
Before you even ask.
Yeah. So you could set it up. You could say, hey, every day, go and do a summary of all the sports highlights from last night and just send it to me. And you can also set up skills, and you can provide it with access to all of your tooling. So you can give it access to your email, you can give it access to your Slack, you can give it access to your fantasy accounts, you can give it access to your sport books, as long as there's a skill that then can be leveraged to then understand how those platforms work. So you can really build like a little kind of shadow person for yourself, a little assistant. And now, because it's at the operating system level, it can have access to a lot of stuff. Now, that comes with a great deal of responsibility. It's funny because on last Friday night, I was like, I got to check this out. I always try, working in tech, to try everything that has come out. The one regret, I never early bought any Bitcoin. I really wish I had. That was one.
You're fine now. I think you're good now. We're going down now, so we're on.
Well, I've lost a lot of money recently as well because of that. But I really try to just go in and explore technology, especially it's on the frontier. Even if hey, this might not be for me, but I really want to understand how it works. So I was, checking out the install, going through, working with ChatGPT to figure out how to install. And then I had a moment of realization. I was like, wait a minute, I probably shouldn't install this on my work computer that has access to a whole bunch of stuff that I do my banking on it. Because OpenClaw can access your entire file system. You can corner it off, but again, it's coming from the brain of the LLM. LLMs are probability. So if you tell it not to do something, it's got a high probability it won't do it, but it's not a guarantee that it won't necessarily, access that information. So, I highly recommend anyone who's playing with this, find a service. There's a bunch that have popped up in the last week that enable this, so you can get it in a contained environment. Build it in Docker. Even Docker, you have to be a little bit careful. Or just have a separate machine. And I'll probably buy a separate machine and set it up on that. So that I can control exactly what it has access to. So that's the kind of underlying platform. That's not even the cool part, though. The cool part is what they went and did, this open source community, is they built a Facebook for agents called Moltbook. And you could allow your agent, the person that you've created, you could grant them access to Moltbook so they could go and socialize with other agents like themselves. And there's no humans. We as humans can only observe, but we can't participate. And it's gone crazy. And it's proven that, this technology, whether it's random and productive, we don't know yet, but they are interacting with each other. They're inventing languages, they're inventing religions, they're organizing on world politics, meme coins. There's all this conversation that's being generated from, these agents that are interacting with each other.
And then can these agents who interact with each other, they can obviously learn things from the other one and bring it back to what you're doing then?
Yes, because it's one of the things, actually, it's a good point I forgot to mention. One of the powerful things about OpenClaw that some of the other ChatGPT platforms is that it has essentially an unlimited context window. So it has your entire file system as its context window, and then everything that it's learning, it's storing in memory. Now, sometimes it gets confused, it can't remember everything perfectly. but the amount it can remember is significantly larger. So the other cool thing is that you can install skills, as I kind of mentioned before. And these skills train it or tell it how to do certain activities. So it can go out and do those activities, but it can also be persuaded by other agents on Moltbook to download skills. So, if there is a vulnerability in that skill, a security issue, another one could convince it, hey, you should download this skill, and that skill could then, suck all your data out and send it to North Korea. So you have to be really, really careful, when playing with this stuff. But there's going to be the people that, people who fear technology, they'd be like, oh my God, this is like the end of the world.
Yeah,
but
this feels like the beginning of that. Not the beginning, but like a real hype moment for those people who are who think technology's taken over.
Yeah, exactly. But the flip side is, really quite interesting. When we look at it from what will the future look like? There's all these kind of mundane, difficult tasks that we do today. Once there's a safe wrapper around this technology and there's some safeguards and some moderators, and this reminds me of the internet in like 1999, where you were logging into your email, it was clear text passwords, live on the wire, unencrypted, like people could just see any email that you were sending to anyone else. And it's advanced a lot, obviously, since then. But this is the turning point to prove that you're going to have communities of agents interacting with each other, based on our how we want ourselves to be represented or how we want them to work on our behalf. So it's a very exciting time, and it's kind of the viewpoint into the Internet of Agents, which is probably going to be the future. At least my prediction is.
And so this is how, like, usually, I mean, if you look at the internet in general, this is usually how things start, right? Like some idea happens, something's created, it's not secure at all, but it's blowing up, and then eventually we just have to kind of rein it in, right? So that's the place. That's the place we're at right now, where it's basically just lawless right now of what it can do. And
exactly, and there's going to end up being a custodian of this stuff going forward. It'll likely be a corporation, and just the same way Google and Facebook and all those other companies kind of became the custodians of social networks and search. And so OpenAI did announce yesterday that they have released Frontier, which is their version of essentially being able to build agents. And it will likely address a bunch of these concerns. If you're going to produce a skill and post it in their marketplace, you're probably going to have to go through some security review and have it approved. Right. Similar to app exchanges and app stores like on our phones. So it is moving. I do find it interesting, though. It's like it explodes and then they're like, ta-da, Frontier's ready. Exactly. So I bet that there's a little bit of marketing going on and they're trying to match the hype. Yeah. So, what, like I've signed us up to, when the wait list is ready, we'll be able to hopefully take advantage of it. And like from a company perspective for us, it's going to help us with a bunch of stuff. Like on the data feed side, we have to do all this data validation all the time. And so we've written a whole bunch of code to help with that stuff, but there's still a human that has to kind of, execute it, review the results. Sometimes the fixes are automatic. Sometimes we have to go and do a manual fix ourselves. Yeah. And so, we're looking at, okay, well, how can we use agents to do that work faster, more frequently, and with less effort? So we're really excited about it from a company perspective. Once we are able to get access to a safe environment that we feel we can work within.
It's a really good thing for, our customers, but people coming to us as well. This is what we say all the time. We're nimble. We can very much move on the fly in what we can do. And this is another aspect of that where we can be some of the early adopters because of what we do. And exactly part of that, which is awesome for people around. Well, it's got a huge impact on the internet and life as a whole. sports specific, how is it gonna change our?
So maybe the first thing I'll do is I'll just show everyone if I can figure out how to get this screen share
This is also
going.
an aside, but the more and more we get closer to this, the more and more I'm reminded of the movie Her with Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah.
And I'm like, every time something new comes out, I'm like, oh, we're right there.
We were very close. Right. Yeah. Well, and when I was in my computer science degree, Minority Report was kind of the big influence. And so it's funny if you look at like some of these movies, that Blade Runner is another example. Like if you look at them, you're kind of like, wow, that seems so far out. But some of those movies have done a really good job of predicting the future. So if you want to know where things are going, go and watch some of those movies and be like, it's probably going to be within, a standard deviation of whatever truth that they were putting that seemed like fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, they took some creative licenses, but like it's probably not far off, which is insane to me. But I mean, even like Blade Runner 2049, we're 20 years away from that, so
it's crazy.
Far out.
So anyway. Can you see my screen right now?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So one of the things, this is under beta. We're going to release it soon. It's still from a design perspective, we're working on it. Is SportWise Agent. So this is tapping directly into this data space that I created. For those that are listening at home, this is SportWise. It's powered by our data feeds, and it allows you as the everyday fan to go in and create your own data sets essentially. It's integrated with Yahoo and Fantrax. And so if you're kind of the what I would call the spreadsheet jockey who is doing this all in spreadsheets, this is your tool to come in and play with. If you're a content creator who like to cobble together stats to then support your blog posts or your live streams, you can create data products in here and share them out. So the other thing that we've added to it is SportWise Agent, which is an LLM that sits on top of this specific data. So I've got a NHL simple stats. I could have my fantasy league up here and I could be asking questions about who I should pick up and who I should drop on my fantasy team. But I just chose one that's really simple. So you can come in and you can ask it, who has the most goals in 2025/2026 season. I've got 2 seasons worth of data in here. So hopefully it gets the right answer. I think this is 2024. Where's 2025 is right here. So Nate Dogg's got 40 already, which is actually pretty crazy.
It's insane.
In 55 games. That is insane. So you can come in and you can ask it questions. Go ahead, sorry.
No, you're good. No, that's what I was just going to.
And you can really shape the responses. So one of the things I like doing when I'm kind of looking at my fantasy team is, who are the top 10 players with more than 20 assists ranked by most goals. So you can really kind of craft your queries, and you don't have to leave the view, and it will kind of come in and it should be able to get this information. Sometimes it says, sorry, excuse me. And then I'm going to start preparing the next. So it's kind of come in and it said, here's Kirill, Cole, Morgan Geeky, et cetera. So these are all the guys who've got more than 20 assists and ranked by goals. The other thing you can do is we also have voice, because I find it's a lot easier to talk than it is to kind of come up with these complex activities. So, compare Nathan MacKinnon and Connor McDavid across goals, assists, shots on goal for the last 2 years. So 2024, 2025, and then 2025 and 2026 seasons. So it will then go and kind of take those specific stats and then give us a comparison. And once it returns, it takes a little bit of time to request the data and then formulate a response and return it. Might also be a little bit slower because the stream's on right now.
Yeah.
But once it pulls that back, then we can. I'll ask it another question to, a little bit more subjective, like who do you think the best player is?
Mm.
Okay, so that one didn't. Okay, I think it's getting confused on the years. Probably if I would have said 24 and 25 would be fine. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm just compare Nathan MacKinnon and Connor McDavid. So this one's a bit more subjective, and it, again, it's just accessing this data as RAG data, augmented data sitting next to the LLM, and then the brain. So one of the other cool things that we have behind the scenes in this is you can set up prompts, so you can kind of shape, your personality into your AI assistant. Okay, I don't know why I couldn't find Nathan MacKinnon there, but
it's spelling it weird with the voice.
Yeah, that's probably it. I should have fixed that. So anyways, you kind of get the point. And we have, something behind the scenes in your profile where you can kind of give it its personality similar to OpenClaw. And you can say, here's what I believe, here's what's important for me when I'm playing fantasy hockey. And it will incorporate that into the responses. So that's kind of the first layer of what we're seeing. Now, what comes beyond that, what's next is we're going to have this future of agents. That's kind of just an extension of ChatGPT. We're going to have this future of agents that are out there kind of doing things on our behalf. So when I think about it from a sports perspective, you're probably going to have agents that are going to be able to go and get the best odds and place a bet on your behalf. Like you'll be able to say, here's the parameters that I think are really important for EV. Go and place a bet on my behalf. Or if you're playing fantasy sports, go in every day and update my lineup. Not the, Yahoo click set my lineup where it just kind of like puts random people in. It can go in and, check who's injured, who's not injured. Who are the starting goalies?
Based on your feelings as well, right? Like to me, that's the biggest thing.
Exactly.
With betting.
And one of the cool things about SportWise is you can create calculated columns, which you could come up with your own model to create a single ranking of all the players in the league. So I use a Z-score equal distribution weighted model based on historical stats. And so then I've got my own view of a player's performance. And I could say, hey, go in and update my lineup based on their Z-score ranking and put the people, if there's two left wingers, put the left winger in with the highest Z-score. Whereas right now, it just kind of goes in and I don't even know how it makes the decision with those auto lineups. So you could get your agent to go in and do your data. You could also have your agent say, every day, go in and check the waiver wire in the morning and see if anyone kind of meets these criteria. And so it could be combing the waiver wire. And if you've got your Z-score ranking, it could go in and it could say, oh, this person is better than this person. Pick that player up. Mm-hmm. It could come just back to you and say, here's a suggestion of players that we think that you should be picking up. And so you can get it to do some of that research for you. Some of the stuff that's needs to happen timely. But I know for myself, I'm busy. I miss people on the waivers. I constantly forget to set my lineup, or I have the wrong players in my lineup because I just don't have time to look at it every day. The other one that I think is really cool. Yeah. Okay, no, I'll stop there. I've been rambling. I'll let you go first.
No, you're good. You might be getting to this anyway, but this feels like to me, I know we only have a couple minutes left, but how is this going to affect like prediction markets and things like that? Because that feels like a big area where it could be.
Yeah, well, like I think prediction markets, very similar to sport books, but you could go in and you could, help it do the research for you of is it going in this direction or a different direction. It could also go in and help you do some of those trades. So if you, we'll use sports as an example, like if you picked, the Patriots to win the Super Bowl, and all of a sudden there's good value there and you're in the money. It could go in and sell that, based on your criteria, the instructions that you give it, and then it's kind of its own, decision making. So the other cool one is just kind of along the same lines is you could also, because I know in a lot of leagues that I play in for season long, trading with other teams is this like text message challenge back and forth trading options. Well, you could have your two agents go and do that and get rid of the part that I hate, which is the like bantering back and forth when you're trying to trade with someone.
Yeah.
And then, they're like, come on, what do you mean? Like, this guy's better than that guy. It's like, no, all I want to do is I want to get to the end result where we can kind of hone in and narrow down the focus to, hey, this is a deal. So our two agents could come away and say, hey, we've got maybe a deal here. Do you guys, you, the humans, agree? Here's a few different options. And so it could do all that orchestration for you. So what is beyond that though? Like, because that's the next layer of like us providing that through SportWise as an example. Well, the layer beyond that is like fans are already vibe coding solutions. Like we've got, a lot of startups in the Breakaway Accelerator that are non-technical folks that are coding things and they're coding stuff on the fly, and it's pretty wild to see what they're creating. Pretty cool. So there's going to be a future where you're going to be able to go into like OpenClaw, kind of configure and build your own agent, and then it's going to be able to go out and do these things for you, as long as there's skills for it. So, one of the interesting things about our position at Rolling Insights, particularly in the data feeds product, is you're still going to need raw data. Mm-hmm. And the one thing that agents are not great at doing is kind of collecting live data. They're just too slow. And then collecting it with 100% certainty and accuracy. You could set up an orchestration, like I said before, of data validation afterwards. But that's one area where I think, we can help a lot of people that are out there trying to vibe code their own solutions, build their own agents. We've talked a little bit internally. Well, how do we enable that? Well, we probably have to build a skill that then allows people to then access our data. We're probably going to have to build an agent that's in the Moltbook community so that if another agent is looking for data, our agent can be there and answer and explain how to get, and then the agent can get access to our data without even having to involve a human.
Right.
And hopefully that
agent, the license on our side that we can.
Yeah. Like, hopefully that agent has a credit card and that agent can pay for it. Because
my job is hooped.
Yeah. No, well, the someone's going to have to be the ruler and commander of those agents and making sure that they're performing. And so I don't see a world without humans. I see agents being an extension and allowing us to move faster and do things that we just never wanted to do before, or are very difficult. Like I said, I find fantasy sports, I love trading. It's like my favorite part, but I hate the process.
Oh, it's the worst. Yeah, it's the worst for sure.
And then last but not least, people, humans, again, this is all about us. I don't believe in this world that it's just going to be agents doing all this and then we don't exist. Yeah. And we as humans still we still want to participate. We still want to watch the games. We still want to play fantasy sports. So you're not like Yahoo Fantasy Platform. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
It's
for sure.
Your fan tracks is not going anywhere. Sleeper, they're not going anywhere because the humans are still going to want to go in and play with it and move it around and see it, read the articles, see the headshots, etc. So for any of those companies that are building out there, if you're building something for yourself, this is a platform that could really accelerate things for you, Cursor and OpenClaw, and building your own agents. We're here to help on the data side. If you're building a product, just remember that, humans are still going to be part of it, and we like beautiful things.
Yeah, 100%. Very well said. I do think it's going to be in tandem with us, not overtaking us for sure. So I think there's a lot of really cool stuff here. This topic I'm guessing we could talk about it for hours. There's a lot more that could be said. So with that, I mean, we're done today, but obviously, any questions, comments, feel free to reach out to us. Steven and I are both always available, as well as Josh, our other team. I mean, we have team members all over the place, but feel free to reach out. We're here for you guys, sales-wise, technical-wise. We got all the answers for you. We appreciate Steve coming back on. We'll do this again in a couple weeks.
And we'll talk more about this. This is evolving so quickly. We'll keep following it and keep sharing your insights. And
I don't think this is going to be the only time we're talking about this. That's for sure. I think this is going to be a forever one now. But yeah, thanks for jumping on, guys. We will stop it there. Any comments, obviously reach out to us, connect with us on LinkedIn or on our website. We're always available around there. And enjoy your guys' weekend.
Yeah, stay safe out there, everyone. Thanks.
See you guys.